not be able to meet the 6% target envisaged by the Comprehensive Africa Agric Development Framework. The reason is simple. Ghana's agric sector is expected to grow by 4.3% by the end of 2017 and 4.5% by the end of 2018, but both are less than the CADEP target of 6%, and that could be dire for Ghana's GDP. That's not all. A 400 million cedi fund is expected to be set up to de-risk the agric sector. But what are the root causes of this risk? Do we know? Have we dealt with the root causes? If not, what difference will the 400 million cedis make? 500,000 farmers are supposed to be engaged in government's flagship program, Planting for Food and Jobs, in 2018, an increase of 300,000 from the 2017 provision. And the question remains, how many have we engaged so far? Plus, 750,000 jobs were supposed to be created with the Planting for Foods and Jobs. How many of those employments have we created? How many are we adding in 2018? The 2018 budget is silent on that. What happens to research in agric sector? The 2018 budget makes no mention, and experts warn this path may be unsafe for the agric sector. On PM Express tonight, we'll be delving deep into these matters and also get some responses from government on the 2018 budget. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. You will get to know my guest after this break.
If you look at on the Akufo-Addo program for economic transformation, there's 700 million which is to be invested under the Planting for Food and Jobs. They were to abolish duties on some agriculture, processing equipment and machinery, support development of agribusiness startups through establishment of grant facilities, and then also establish 400 million fund to direct the agriculture sector. These are all laudable
ideas,
initiatives or ideas to be implemented. Now, the difficulty we have has to do with most of these programs, there are no specific amounts allocated to them. So it becomes very difficult for you to monitor. In case within the period these projects are not implemented, government can easily say that, okay, we shifted the money to these areas. But if they were to put specific amounts attached to these projects, it would have been nice.
Specifically, now, what projects are you talking about?
For instance, if you are saying that you are going to support the development of agribusiness startup through establishment of grant funding facilities, how much amount is going there? Increase the space of mechanization. It's not specific how much amount is going there. Now, if you look at the agriculture sector, the problems we have, you can try to disaggregate them from land preparation, from planting, from harvesting to marketing. Right. So we look at it from this perspective. Now, if you look at before you plant, you have to prepare the land. Now, in that area, we try to look inside to see what is there to help farmers to easily prepare their lands. Okay. There's no much that we can talk about.
Right.
Planting for Food and Jobs, which is to support farmers with seeds and fertilizer. There's a big amount that is allocated to that area. But how much is going to support seed is not there. How much is going into fertilizer is not there. And we are all aware that what we supplied in 2017, as we speak, fertilizer importers haven't been paid.
Okay.
Local seed growers, that's National Association of Traders, have not received all their full payment. So all these are issues that we were expecting that in the budget, they will clearly indicate how we are going to offset all these deficits, so that in going forward, we will be able to say that, okay, then there is hope for this, where all those things haven't been done.
Have not been done in the budget. Quickly, let me get a response from you, Honorable Ali Mega Halido. One of the issues he has raised is the fact that we don't know how much is going into seed and fertilizer. And of course, fertilizer importers have not been paid. What's your response to that?
Thank you, Asha. Let me say a very good evening to your cherished viewers, and then to express my sincerest condolences to multimedia.
Thank you very much.
For loss of our brother Kaba. So speaking, agriculture is very important, especially considering our economy as an agrarian economy, and considering the fact that it employs almost 50% of our population.
Okay.
So if a government wants to improve the lives of the people, the good area is to channel resources to improve agriculture. Because if you improve agriculture, if you improve the lives of about half of your population. So in line with that, government comes out with a policy, Planting for Food and Jobs. And it's a 5-year program. And under the program, government supplies subsidized fertilizer and subsidized improved seeds to farmers. I'm surprised my brother is saying suppliers have not been paid.
Okay.
If you look at the suppliers of seeds, I'm not saying all of them have been paid, but most of them, as you are aware, most of them have been paid.
Can you give us a percentage of
ministry?
How many of them have been paid?
Indeed. I was called just 30 minutes before this program. I forgot to pick the document from the.
Okay, so most
office.
of them have been paid.
But the most important thing is that is the program sustainable, and will government be able to continue as it is doing? And the answer is yes. Because if you look at this year's budget, 700 million, as my brother said, is going to be channeled to the Planting for Food and Jobs. And I wonder why my friend said this money, there was no specification how much is going to seize, how much is
exactly
going
the point. That's why we want you to tell us, for instance,
how much is going to this. But
for seed and fertilizer.
When we launched the program, we said seeds will be subsidized 50%. Indeed, all the inputs that are going to be supplied from next year, this amount is going in as a subsidy.
Okay.
So and I can give you the details how many metric tons that.
Okay, but you don't know specifically how much will be going for seed and fertilizer, but you know the 700 will cater for all of that.
Exactly. So, for example, there is a backlog. I must be honest with you. There are seeds there as you speak. There are seeds in some of the districts. There are some fertilizer seeds. You may want to delve into that. But for me, if you ask me, I think the problem with Planting for Food and Jobs is not whether or not government is assigning money to specific areas. For example, if when we embark on our field tour, what we realize is that even bad rules is affecting Planting for Food and Jobs. And farmers, I would say farmers' economic levels, like income levels, it is affecting Planting for Food and Jobs. Because if you go to Kidnappur Kidnappur North district, for example, about 1,000 farmers registered for the program, but those who actually participated is less than 200.
Who should we blame for that?
Who should be blamed for that? Even the 25% down payment for farmers to pick their inputs, they are unable to pay.
Okay, but I seem to understand where Mr. Nyaba is coming from, because if you don't specifically tell us how much you are allocating to each program, then we cannot hold you accountable for those programs. But let me have you hold, Honorable, and speak with Edward Karewa. He's the General Secretary of the Agric Workers Union. Good evening to you, Edward. The Agric Workers Union seem to be unhappy with so many of the provisions in the budget. What are your concerns? Hello, Edward Karewa. You are on PM Express.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening to you.
Yeah, please, may you come again?
I'm saying that the Agric Workers Union seem to have so many problems with the provisions in the budget for the agric sector, and I want you to share some of your concerns with us.
Well, let me say good evening to all of you, and then our many listeners and viewers. We have problems with the budget because we think that, first and foremost, Planting for Food and Jobs is a good program. But if it's a good program, we have to see how good it is. One, in 2017, the program was supposed to generate 750,000 jobs. As at the time the minister was reading the budget, if you would permit me to read the first sentence of the budget in respect of agriculture. The minister said, Mr. Speaker, our flagship Planting for Food and Jobs program has been a tremendous success. The Planting for Food and Jobs recruited 2,160 university graduates and 1,070 youth to register and provide extension services to farmers across the country. You know, the question is, where are the jobs that have been created? 750,000 jobs. Per the budget, which the minister told us for the 2017 for Planting for Food and Jobs, were only 3,200 and something. That is one major challenge. Now, if you say something is a tremendous success, and you have set some objectives for it, and one of them is jobs, 750,000 jobs. We questioned the basis of the 750,000 jobs as they stated in the 2017 budget, or as they stated that the Planting for Food and Jobs will provide. Today, per the budget, it means those jobs have not been provided. Now, proceeding from there.
Mr. Karewa, let me have you hold for a second, and let me take a response from the Honorable Member of Parliament. Where are the jobs? The 750,000 jobs you promised us in 2017.
Karewa is confused. If you say jobs, Planting for Food and Jobs, you're not talking about, for example, those that you are going to recruit from the universities alone, because it's only summing about 2,160 graduates of the university and 1,070 youth. That is not what we mean. He forgot that we have about 200 farmers, 200,000 farmers who are there already.
One of the issues that has been raised, not by only Edward, is that
jobs. It's not for just a year. It's for the whole program, which is five.
Okay, but the complaint is that you didn't tell us how much you have, how many of the jobs you have created.
No, it's clear. It's clear. He said as part of the Planting for Food and Jobs program, that's something he's confused with. He thinks that the program is going to recruit like maybe graduates, or they use 500,000 into it. No. If a subsistence farmer who hitherto were not doing farming as business, now through the government has given him subsidized inputs and is able to produce and sell and get income, that's job. That's what we are talking about. Okay. So 750,000 jobs does not mean we are recruiting 750,000 graduates or 750,000 youth.
Charles, I think Charles is not comfortable with that.
750,000 is for 5 years. It's not for a year. And if you look at the first year alone, if you add 200,000 plus the 3,000, it just it's about 203,000.
I think that there's a mix there. No. If you talk about the 200,000, because the minister specifically talked about 500,000 farmers to be engaged, and then that is separate in 2018. In 2017, he talked about 200,000 to be engaged. That is separate from the 750,000 jobs they promised. I mean, there are two separate promises. 750,000
jobs.
And the 200,000 farmers are separate from the, they are not supposed to be part of the 750,000.
No, they are. They are.
Is that what it is, Charles?
That's what it is. No, anyway, they crafted it. If that is
then probably you need to accept, because I heard the minister read the budget. He never said at any point that the 200,000 jobs are part, the 200,000 engagement with farmers is part of the 750,000 jobs. He made it look like they are two separate things.
No, Asha, he didn't. Okay. Asha, you know, we have, like I said earlier, we have about half of our population who are dependent on agriculture. The number of farmers we have here in Ghana is about, I think, about over 5 million farmers.
Okay.
So not all those farmers consider the occupation as jobs. Do you get it? Because most of them are subsistence farmers.
Okay.
What the Planting for Food and Jobs seeks to do is to upgrade the farmers from subsistence level to commercial level, where you can sell your produce and make money. That's why part of the program we have the marketing strategy and everything. So we shouldn't I confuse the two. That if you say we are creating jobs with the Planting for Food and Jobs, we only mean recruiting the youth or recruiting 750,000 graduates. No.
Charles, Honorable says you are confused, and that you probably need to read the document again.
I think maybe the Honorable have to come back or sit with his minister so that they redefine the Planting for Food and Jobs and rather say Planting for Food and Incomes, because he's confusing the two. I'm coming. All the farmers who were engaged in 2017 were farmers who already have lands, because that's the program. That's what the program said. They would have been in farming already. If you look at agriculture sector, in all our policy documents, we said agriculture sector recruits over 60% of the population. Who are those? It provides jobs for over 60% of the population. Who are those? Let me learn. Okay. Who are those 60%? They include the farmers.
They include the farmers.
So if you say that those farmers who are engaged under the Planting for Food and Jobs were not already working, and it's because of the Planting for Food and Jobs now they are working, I don't think that is entirely correct. Now the second point that I need to make clear, and I think you take this and then we take the discussion further. If you look at all developed economies that develop through agriculture, we have what we call a structure change theory, where you start looking at the agriculture sector, empowering those who are working there, that's the farmers, to be able to produce more. When they produce more and they are not able to consume all, then you supply the surplus to industry.
Right.
Industries expand. Now the surplus labor in the agriculture sector move to industry, and that's where the jobs are created.
Right.
But if you conclude that if I were a farmer, I'm a farmer, and I took the inputs from Planting for Food and Jobs, and I was already working, making money, and recruiting others to work there. So you cannot now come and tell me that because I took the support under the Planting for Food and Jobs, it's now that I'm getting jobs.
Does it mean that it's mistargeted?
No, I think that they've not defined it clearly so that we understand the first year what they're doing. To me, what I'm thinking is that first year, we are trying to empower farmers to do what they're doing better. That doesn't mean that you are not coming to giving them jobs. In the following years, what they produce now supplies to industry. Industry expands, recruit more people, those who were not already working. That's where you are creating the jobs.
Okay.
Yeah. Asha, agri doesn't recruit 60% of our population.
Okay.
60% of our population depends on agriculture. These are two clear different things. Let's my brother get it clear. Agri does not recruit 60% of our population, because if you go to our how many the farmers we have are not 60% of our population, but their dependents and other things act about 60%. That's why even now it's about close to 50%. That's why in my prior comments I said, indeed, if you want to improve the lives of half of the population, they should channel through agriculture. One of you see how many farmers, as you said, how many farmers in Ghana are like you, who are into full-time farming and are making profits.
Okay.
That is the point. Because if I cultivate and I get like 2 bags of maize in a year,
all right,
that does not make me a commercial farmer.
No,
I'm coming.
But that's a job for me.
I'm coming. No, it cannot be a job, because in this case you are not earning.
So what?
You are not. I'm coming. You are not earning from the farming. You grow and feed your family. That's not a job.
Okay.
That is not a job.
But I don't think that is what Charles is saying, because he said he even employs other people.
No, that's why I asked him how many of those farmers are like him.
Okay.
So when we went on the field trip, most of the farmers who have registered were those who hitherto were getting about 5 bags, 2 bags, 3 bags. Those were subsistence farmers. They go to feed their family.
So would you agree that
government brings an intervention? Now, instead of you going to feed your family, it will give you subsidized input, high yielding variety, get on acre of a land. You're able to get maybe between, maybe if it's a maize, between 20 and 25. if I have 2, 3, about 100, you can, your family alone cannot consume 100. In this, what do? You as you said, you sell the surplus.
One of the arguments,
income,
Honorable,
and that becomes job, Honorable.
One of the arguments I've heard is the fact that you're counting all the people who already had jobs, who had support from you as part of the jobs you've created. And that is where the problem is. We should be able to clearly know how many jobs you have created with the planting for food and jobs. Then we should know which people were already in the job that you supported to improve on their jobs.
To some extent, I will agree with you. But however, let me. Honorable is a farmer. He probably might have ad grower. Do you have ad growers?
Yeah.
Good. I have a friend who has an ad grower. Is doing this ad grower scheme. Before planting for food and jobs, he has about 1,000 farmers. Now, through planting for food and jobs, he gets 1,500.
Yeah. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Nobody is.
I'm making a point.
Right.
Okay. Now, he counts himself as one person.
Okay.
Do you get it? So on the planting for food and jobs sizes, he's the only farmer being recognized as being assisted. But however, because he's getting assistance from planting for food and jobs program, he's able to bring 500 people more.
So do you agree with those who suggest that this should have been planting for food and income instead of planting for food and jobs?
It's planting for food and jobs.
All right, let me quickly go to Philip Abayari. And okay, before I get to you, let's get the what you wanted to clear before I go to
what
Philip.
I wanted to clear is Honorable is confusing people who are taking input under the planting for food and jobs as jobs. It means that if I receive the inputs automatically, they say they have created job for you. But that's not right. That's what I started by saying that.
But the explanation he gave was that if they support you and you used to employ 1,000 farmers and now you are employing 1,500
it's not like
farmers.
you employ 1,500 farmers.
Okay.
I had 10 farmers that I was supporting under my nuclear farmer system.
Right.
So because they are supporting me, I'm now able to support additional 10.
Okay, so
those additional 10 were already farmers.
Okay.
It's not like people.
But probably they were harvesting 5 bags of maize, 2 bags of sorghum.
It's possible. We can make that assumption.
So now that they are increasing their production, probably that's also.
That is an assumption because we haven't done any project evaluation to be able to make such conclusions.
Okay.
So what I will agree with him that under the planting for food and jobs, we've been able to support farmers to now increase their production. If I were already doing 5 acres and now I'm doing 7 acres, it doesn't mean that the time I was doing the 5 acres, I didn't have job.
Yes.
And because I've expanded, I've now got job.
I think that has been cleared.
So I want Honorable to get that very clear, that we can only create jobs if you're able to produce more. Now we bring people who were not already working.
Okay.
That's where you create a job. But if I were already working and then you are helping me to improve on what I'm doing,
that
you
is
cannot
not
conclude
job
that that is job.
Well, I think government should come clear on those. I think it's a bit confusing so that the farmers who this planting for food and job is for can understand what government is trying to do. But let me quickly get a response from Philip Abayari. Philip, you've been following the argument. And people feel that it should be planting for food and income and not planting for food and jobs for the first year at least. Because if you look at the first year, government hasn't really created much job. They have rather supported people who are already in the business already. What's your take on this?
You see, we need to be careful with some of the analysis that we make because sometimes if we don't do them very well, a good intention will tend to be thrown aside as not important. If you look at the Planting for Food program, it has 2 segments. And I think the Honorable MP has elaborated it, but he didn't go further. And one part of it is that you have a program that allows the smallholder farmers, some who are very vulnerable and having low incomes and are not able to afford to be able to get inputs at very competitive rates. as you know, generally, 35% of the farming population are deemed to be very poor. And that program is set to allow them to be able to get good seed and also get inputs at affordable cost so that they can at least increase production. When we say increase production, one, if you were planting bad seeds and getting 2 bags, and now you get good seed and get some supporting fertilizer and you get 12 bags, automatically, you and your wife and your children who were going to the farm to carry these 2 bags, now you need to get extra 5 people or 10 people to go and help you to harvest. That you have created 5 or 10 jobs, including yourself, making 13. Now, that is one of the scenarios. Now you have another one which allows any farmer who will be able to pay 50%, of the cost of inputs, especially fertilizer, and also get improved seed. Now, if that farmer was doing 10 acres, because now he has to spend half of the market value of the cost of inputs to purchase inputs, he will automatically increase his farm to 20 acres.
Okay, so
he will employ, if he was employing 5 people, he will employ 5 people in addition.
So, Philip, you seem to be on the same line with
yield.
Okay. You seem to agree.
I'm aware of what I don't.
You seem to agree with what Honorable is trying to explain. Philip.
Yeah, and also just to because the knowledge. Hello.
Yes, you're still on.
The knowledge I have on the program is what I'm explaining, and also what I know on the ground.
Right.
So, in this context, the volume of harvest that has come, there will be more people employed, to harvest, more people are employed to put fertilizer application, more people were employed to plant, and in quantum, when you do the analysis, people have got jobs to do. Now, from there, in the trading aspect of it, there have also been an expansion of products. So for that reason, you have more people who are involved in the post-harvest. That is the understanding. And before the program was even initiated, the main reason which we were made to understand was that agriculture has fallen to 0.1% of GDP. And a new government that is coming in, if they don't intervene in a very radical way and want to do business as usual, that means that our farmers will not be able to plant.
So one year after the implementation
has gone low.
So Philip, 1 year after the implementation of the program, would you say agriculture has risen?
The cycle is not completed until the end of December, or even, let me tell you, by March, because people are going to be harvesting now till February and March.
Okay.
So until you finish harvesting, and then we'll be able to look at the completion of the program so that we'll see, did we get much yield, and what is the effect of the program? If we conclude the analysis today, I don't think we'll be able to know whether the program really worked properly or not.
Okay.
And we don't want to discourage the program because it is helping the main vulnerable farmers and also trying to cushion our farmers.
Definitely
because
so.
It is very difficult for you to go to the open market.
Definitely so, Philip. Let me come to Charles. Let me come to Charles. We've all agreed that it's working properly. Yeah. Probably there's some understanding that needs to be made to the farmers so that they can understand what exactly is happening. But we know about some 400 million cedis earmarked for de-risking the what do you call it? To de-risking the sector. But the question also comes in that, what are the risk factors? What are the root causes of these risk factors? Do we know? Are we going to deal with the risk factors? If we don't deal with the risk factors, what difference will this 400 million make? What are the risk factors, Charles?
Yeah, before I come to the risk factors, let me make this very clear to Honorable and then Philip and anybody who is watching. Peasant farmers are 100% supporting this program.
Definitely.
And we welcome it because our members are benefiting.
Okay.
Because if I was buying fertilizer for 100 Ghana cedis and now I get the same thing for 50 Ghana cedis, it's only unreasonable person who will say a program like this is not good. But the point we are making is that let's look at the loopholes. what are the factors that are likely to affect the success of the program.
Yeah.
So those are the factors we try to outline. So the government will take them and then we all learn lessons. In going forward, we try to address them.
Right.
So if government see us from that lens, I think we shouldn't have any
make a
problem.
headway.
But if government is always fast to defend things that are not going on right, that's why we continue to have problems. And the programs, past program, fail. We've all seen it. Now let me also correct Philip that agriculture never contributed less than 18.5% to GDP. The list we had was 18.5, which we got in 2017. That's a professional figure that we got. You understand? But from the
he said growth.
He didn't say growth. He said contribution to GDP. I listened to him. Now, before this program, in 2015, the growth was 2.8. The list figure we got was 2011, which was 0.8. But the list we had before this program was 3.0%. So that is what he put there to is not correct. Now, these are some of the risks in the sector. Some are man-made, some are natural. One of the major risk factors facing the agriculture sector today has to do with weather. And if you are talking of weather, I'll first talk of rainfall. Because if you go to most of the areas, not only the savanna zone, but even in the forest zone, there are many occasions that farmers plant and the rain doesn't come at all. So all what they planted would either wilt or it's getting to the period of harvest and they are not getting water to harvest.
That you cannot blame anybody for that.
Yeah, you cannot blame anybody for that. So what the crafters of the planting for food did, or the MPP government did, that I'm so impressed about, is the introduction of one village, one dam project, and then provision of dark house and then smaller water pumping machines. This is perfect. I will only encourage them to ensure that it becomes a reality, because in the past we've seen similar projects. The second one has to do with market. Marketing has always been a problem, especially the perishable goods. Now the marketing is in two components. The domestic market and then the international market. Now the problem I have that many people always have is when we talk of market, let's improve production for export. As if we are able to even feed the domestic market. Now we are not able to feed the domestic market, yet the market that is available, they import the same products that we are doing here from our neighboring countries. Go to Accra Mall, go to big hotels that we have. They take all their vegetables and other things from South Africa and other places.
So you have a response to that?
Yeah. So what we need to do in terms of market asset is that, for me, in the short run, we shouldn't target producing to supply the international market. We should try to improve quality. Because recently our produce were rejected from European market. And what we are doing is to improve, to be able to supply to those markets.
Would you blame government for that?
I think government should be blamed partly because you have PPRS, Plant Protection and Regulatory Services Directorate, who are supposed to monitor to ensure that farmers produce to meet certain standards. But they are lacking resources to be able to play that monitoring role.
So that's where government comes in.
Yeah.
Okay, let Honorable tell us how this 400 million cedis will be used to de-risk the sector.
Esha, before you asked a very important question, I think what is his name, Mr.
Philip.
Mr. Philip, look at the success of the Plan for Food and Jobs. But if you look at the growth this year, if you look at our growth this year, which is about 4.5, which is about 1.5 higher than last year. And don't also forget, as Mr. Philip rightly said, as we speak, not even all harvesting has been done. We are still doing harvesting. So by March, you should be able to tell more. Coming to the risk factors, I think the marketing aspect of it has to do with one, our taste. That's why we have to do more of import substitution policies. patronizing local rice and promoting local rice. Government is targeting school feeding, through this planting for food and jobs. That a national buffer stock has been given money to be able to mop up the excess in the market, to use it for the free SHS and for the school feed. There's a huge market there that our farmers can access. You see, Honorable was talking about importation. You see, our problem we have in terms of quality is chemicals, not necessarily diseases, but chemicals. You go to the Ghanaian farmer who doesn't even know the use of chemicals. He sprays today, he harvests tomorrow. Of course, it will fail any quality test. It will fail any quality. That's why.
So how do you intend to use the 400 million to deal with some of these things?
Of course, for example, if as you said, today farmers in northern region are crying for compensation as a result of the invasion of the fall armyworm. As you said, in my constituency, I have a very good brother, Ibrahim, who is purely into maize. Last year, he went out of business because he planted 5 farms and the rains failed to come.
Fall.
In this case, he needs compensation and he needs some support to be able to plant the following season. This is how the 400 million Ghana is going to be used. But for the marketing aspect, that's why this government is engaging a session.
Have you done a survey to actually get the root cause of the risk so that you can appropriately use this 400 million?
Yes, Aisha. Everything is based on the study that the Agri Ministry did. For example, when we went on the field, there's this particular farmer which came to me and spoke to say, Honorable, I did 20 acres. He borrowed from the bank and invested it. Fall armyworm has finished everything. They have finished everything. And now the banks are chasing him. Next year, he'll be able to go into production. Okay. So if at 400 million, what kind of such a farmer can apply? You do the assessment.
And the fact that you did some research to get the root causes brings back the conversation that we didn't hear much allocated to the research. I mean, those who do research in this field, we didn't hear any allocation for research in the sector. I'll take a break on PM Express. When we come back, Honorable will help us understand why allocations were not made for the research agencies. You're welcome back to PM Express. We're delving deep into the provisions for Agric in 2018, and we're also casting our minds back into 2017. What promises were made by the budget? Did we achieve some? And then we're trying to get some answers here in the studio. Let me go back to you, Charles. We have a limited time to get out of here. You mentioned, government actually told us that the army worm invasion has been dealt with and it's a thing of the past. But you want us to understand, because you're talking, I mean, reality. You've been on the field and you think that it's not being dealt with?
Yeah, you know, if you look at the history of the armyworm since 2016, it started in a very small area, and every year it keeps increasing. And we always said that, and research proved that all the farms that were infested in the previous farming season are always breeding grounds for the worm to increase in subsequent years. Now, even if you don't do anything with the worms when they infest your farm and the rain starts, or when the plants mature to a certain state, they automatically vanish. So when we started struggling to control them, it got to a time the rains set in and those crops also grew to a certain level, so the things vanished. Even though government tried, they did their best to get this in resolved, but we are still thinking that we are at risk of higher invasion in 2018.
Okay.
So what we were expecting to see is enough resources given to CSIR, because there are a lot of things they are supposed to do. But always when you talk to them, they are not able to do that because of limited budget.
Okay. Honorable, what should we expect in dealing with this armyworm invasion 2018? Do you have some provision in the budget?
Of course, yes. I want to read paragraph 395. It said a strategic stock, I think the last sentence, a strategic stock of insecticide and other logistics will be built to ensure ready available of chemicals during the future outbreaks, as well as in the spirit of farmer education, monitoring and surveillance. You get it? We are not
but
saying,
it doesn't specific. Okay, you talk about pests, but it doesn't. You know, the fall army is you know, a challenge on its own. So you don't want to confuse it with other pests.
No, this is under fall army.
Okay.
I'm reading under fall army. The paragraph that talks about fall army in the budget is paragraph 395.
Okay. So what do you seek to do? Because he says they are still under threat.
Of course, yes. Nobody has discounted that. We haven't done that. Fall army is still a threat because we have not eradicated them completely. Let's know. Control is different from eradication. Now it is under control. The likelihood of bouncing back is possible.
Right.
So what you should question is the government preparedness when it happens.
So tell us.
As we speak, chemicals are in stock. Spraying gangs are going to be formed, and then farmer education is quite necessary because when we went to the field, what we realized that even some farmers could not even detect the difference between fall armyworm and then the normal armyworm we have in Ghana. So, and the point to spray, because if you spray in the daytime, in a kind of say, it's better when you spray in the evenings rather. So all these things are very necessary. We educate the farmers on that. You make a quick suggestion. Let me react to that. We said in this budget, that was allocated to research.
Much, we didn't hear much for the research.
I don't get it because if you look at our budgets and the way we report our budget in Ghana, I've not heard the finance minister say, oh, this year we've allocated maybe this amount to research. Because
so
you know why? Every department
has a research department.
Even in multimedia, we have a research department. So we expect part of all departments to allocate
some of their monies to research. Okay. Quickly, we have about less than 3 minutes to get out of here. Let's look at the new program there. Is it AGET or APET?
Yeah.
That's yes, the Akufo-Addo program for economic transformation, APET. How different is that from the planting for food and jobs?
I wouldn't say there's no much difference on the planting for food, except that it's a program to revamp the whole agriculture sector.
Do we need it?
Of course, yes.
Okay.
Because part of that project is agri-processing. So under one district, one factory, we need to set up factories that add value to our product. Part of that is we have the agricultural Marshall Plan, agricultural rules, because we need to open up the rural economy for access. If you, I think at Suta Kwamine district, we went there and the farmers in Afram Plains, I told that it is better to buy the input at the market price in Afram Plains than to come to Mampo and Suta to pick input for plant of food.
Okay.
You know why? Because the rules were so bad that it costs more to transport the subsidized fertilizer to Afram Plains.
So both of them are necessary to improve on agriculture.
So rules are very necessary. It's part of the Akufo-Addo's economic.
Charles, quick one. What do you make of this APET?
Yeah, I think the APET is a broader policy.
Yeah.
The only thing is I may get a bit confused with it, with the food and agriculture sector policy. Because planting for food and jobs and all other things comes under APET. Because planting for food and jobs focus on seed, fertilizer, extension. But this one goes beyond that. Yeah, this one goes beyond that to also look at the banking sector, to look at the industries, to look at road infrastructure, and a whole lot of stuff. I think I was
sector.
cocoa sector, because I was part of the consortium that met in the pediatric law to look at all this. But my problem has to do with agriculture sector receive the most widest policies ever. Any government that comes up comes with its own policy.
But implementation.
But when it comes to implementation, it becomes a problem. But I'm seeing some prospects. The only thing is, in going forward, I just hope that those things will be done. For instance, we talk of mechanization. Mechanization is one area that we've not been able to really do well. If you go to northern part of Ghana, soya like this, women still have to use their hands to uproot them. We've not been able to come up with a simple machine that we use to harvest soya. Yet, you go to Ghana Nut in Tekima, they are not getting soya, they continue to import. Okay. So if you're able to come up with machinery that deals with this, that would be good.
I think Honorable has taken note of that, and that's what time will allow us.
Wow.
Agric matters are very dear to our hearts, because that's what put food on our tables, actually. But I think we would have to do part 2 of this discussion, because a lot of challenges in the agric sector that needs to be dealt with. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Many thanks for watching. Many thanks to you, Honorable Ali Meiga Halidu. He's a member of the Agri Committee in Parliament. Charles Nyaba is the Programs Officer of the Peasant Farmers Association. And Philip Abayori, he is President of the Agri Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining this discussion. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Many thanks for your time. Have a great evening.